Before we start the setup of the local environment, make sure that you have the following system dependencies. If you don't have them or you are not sure, just pause now and take your time to install them. Now that you have all required applications installed, we can move on to set up Magento locally. I will create a new project inside my users directory, but feel free to put it wherever you want to. It doesn't really matter. The only one rule here is Magento must be outside of the Vue Storefront application. Otherwise, Next, which is the framework behind the Vue Storefront, will treat those files as a part of the Storefront application and will die trying to do something useful with them. Okay, so now let's create the directory inside the project space. I will name it server, but the name is really up to you. And let's switch to that directory. It's empty as expected, and that's cool, at least for now. To move on, we need to initialize the Docker for Magento application inside that directory. And to do that, let's switch to the browser and grab the init setup command from the Docker for Magento repository. Firstly, let's Google for the repository. It's the first result, at least for me, so let's click it. Here you can find a lot of very useful information about the setup of the project from scratch, from existing files, including the existing database, ready-to-use commands, and much more. So feel free to spend some time checking the README file. We are looking for the setup from scratch command, so let's scroll down a little bit. The command is here. Let's copy it and switch back to the terminal. Now we can paste the command, but wait now, before you press the enter key, let's talk about the used parameters. The first one here is the host name for the application. It will be added to the host file on your computer, so feel free to adjust it now. For my purpose, I will use the default value. And the next one is the Magento version. It is recommended to use the latest one, so I will do that. Okay, so now if you are ready, simply press the enter key. And let's wait. Once installed, we can visit the URL to see if the application is working as expected. So let's copy this URL and open our browser. And now paste the URL. Let's see what will happen. Okay, great. The app is alive, but we still need some data to work with. There are no categories, no products or static pages, it's just an empty shop. So let's fix that by installing the sample data. Let's switch back to the terminal. There's a lot of useful commands inside the bin directory which you can use. But what we need is the sample data deployment command. Bin Magento sample data deploy. Okay, so once sample data are deployed, then it's time to make the upgrade. We can use the same bin Magento library to do the upgrade. Okay, now the setup is done, so we can switch to the browser and see if we have some products there. Let's reload the page. Yes, and that's it. We have categories. We have some static blocks here, and also inside of categories we have products. Since everything looks good, now we need to make the last step. By default, Magento 2 is configured to allow very low maximum GraphQL query complexity and depth, and we need to change that to make it work with the Vue Storefront. We can do that either by manually editing the XML file or by installing the module which adds the configurable options to the admin panel. We will use that solution because it is more user-friendly, and not everyone might want to manipulate files, especially if those files are stored in the repository. So let's grab the module and install it with the composer. Again, ready-to-use bin commands come in handy. Bin composer require, yes, module GraphQL config. And now we must enable the module. Again, bin Magento module enable Caravelle GraphQL config. And classically, once we enable the module, we must upgrade the Magento. And that's all about the Magento installation. Now let's move on to the Vue Storefront. We have installed the Magento and now it's time for the Vue Storefront. Currently, there are two approaches to do that. The first one is with the usage of the CLI generator, and the second one is to clone the repository on your local machine. And this method is in general more reliable and will end up with the same result, so we will go this route. So now open your browser. Here you must find the Vue Storefront GitHub organization. And here in this organization there is a template Magento repository, so let's find it. It's here. So now let's copy the URL and let's go back to our terminal. Now clone the repository wherever you want to. In my case, it will be in my home directory. Once cloned, cd into the cloned repo. So simply execute the yarn install command. Now let's open the project in your favorite editor. Let's start with creating a new env file. New file, env, enter key. And next, copy-paste the content of the example env into that file. So open this, copy the content, and paste it here. And here we have some variables, but only few of them are interesting to us at this point. We have to set up the middleware URL, SSR middleware URL, Magento base URL, this is important, the GraphQL URL is important, and we will have to change the image provider here. So let's start from the Magento base URL. I will use the URL that I created in the previous steps when I was installing Magento, and you should do the same. So for me, it will be https Magento test and // This is very important to have that // at the very end of the URL. And now the GraphQL URL. Let's just copy paste it here. It will be the same. Image provider. We should change it to the IPX because we are not going to use Cloudinary at this moment, and the IPX stands for self-hosting images, so it will be enough for us at this point. And now something that can be a little bit confusing at the very beginning, the middleware URL. But what exactly is the middleware URL? Let's tap here and I will explain what is the middleware. The Vue Storefront application is built with three packages: the storefront or the theme, the middleware, and the API client. To understand the configuration options, you must understand how those pieces communicate with each other. The storefront is making a call to the middleware, which acts as a proxy. The middleware is doing its magic stuff and forwarding the request with the usage of the API client to some services. However, the storefront application, which is built on top of Next framework, can make a client-to-client or server-to-server requests. For the client-to-client communication, the middleware URL is used. For the server-to-server, the SSR middleware URL is used. It makes a lot of sense to have separated URLs when working with the isomorphic application or to address different infrastructure scenarios. So now that you know what is the middleware, let's update those values. SSR middleware URL is not necessary because it will fall back to the middleware URL in case that it's missing, and because both are the same, we can keep just one for this simplicity. All necessary variables are configured and you can start the application. So open the terminal and now type yarn dev command. The application is listening on the HTTP localhost 3000, so let's copy this URL and now switch to the browser. Input that URL here, and here you go. Categories, static pages, products. So hey guys, well done, you've just set up the whole integration.